What amount of money would you say it takes to finally feel wealthy, or at least safe? For some, the answer comes easy. Millions, 2 million, 5 million, maybe more. Because that's what we've been told. Retirement requires a mountain of cash, and without it, you'll never make it. But here's the twist. Financial independence might be possible with as little as $500,000. And this isn't just internet hype. This idea has been echoed by none other than Kevin O'Leary, the no-nonsense Shark Tank investor worth hundreds of millions. O'Leary's point is simple. You don't need to live like the rich to live free. You don't need to chase $10 million. What you really need is clarity. Clarity about your life, your costs, and what freedom means to you. And once you define that, the numbers suddenly start to look very different. The very first step isn't about money at all. It's deciding what your life should actually look like, not the highlight reels on Instagram, not your neighbor's shiny new SUV, your life. For some, the dream really is luxury cars, designer wardrobes, and sprawling mansions. That dream comes with an astronomical price tag and endless upkeep. For others, the dream is much simpler: a comfortable home, no debt, modest pleasures, and the ability to spend their days however they choose. That life costs far less. And that's the real lesson. Wealth isn't a universal number. It's not about chasing a millionaire status symbol. It's about aligning your spending with what you actually value. So once you know what matters, the question becomes, what can $500,000 really buy you when managed the right way? Now here's where the math gets interesting. If you place $500,000 into low-risk fixed-income investments like bonds or high-yield savings, you can reasonably expect around 5% annually. That's $25,000 per year in passive income, without ever touching the principal. Now shift to a balanced portfolio, mixing bonds with diversified stock ETFs, and long-term returns historically move closer to 8.5 to 9%. That pushes your annual income to roughly $42,500 to $45,000. That might not sound glamorous, but think about what it actually means. $25K could cover a modest lifestyle in a low-cost town, or even abroad. $45K could support a small family in a mid-sized city, especially if the home is paid off. And the best part, as O'Leary puts it, you don't need to spend the principal. You're simply living off the interest. So the math is straightforward. The real question is whether those numbers are enough to fund not just survival, but the kind of life you want. Whether $500K works depends entirely on lifestyle. In New York or San Francisco, $45,000 barely covers rent, let alone everything else. But in smaller cities, or countries like Portugal, Thailand, or Mexico, that same $45,000 can fund a very comfortable life with room to breathe. The real reward isn't luxury, it's time. The ability to wake up when you want, design your own day, and know you're no longer trading hours for dollars. That's the kind of freedom most millionaires still never achieve, because they're trapped maintaining an expensive lifestyle. And here's the part most people forget. There's an extra income stream waiting in the background that makes the math even better. And it's one many people forget to include, or might already have coming your way. When you factor in Social Security, the picture improves dramatically. The average benefit today is about $1,900 per month per person, or roughly $22,800 per year. For a married couple, that's close to $45,600 annually, guaranteed. Stack that on top of your portfolio income, and you're suddenly looking at a household pulling in $70,000 to $90,000 a year, without ever touching the $500,000K principal. That's not just scraping by. That's enough to cover the bills, enjoy some comforts, and even travel modestly if you choose. But before you get too comfortable, there's a silent force working in the background that can chip away at this plan year after year if you don't prepare for it. Inflation, the invisible tax that quietly eats away at your freedom. Even if your portfolio generates $25,000 a year like clockwork, the value of that money shrinks as prices rise. A gallon of milk that costs $3 today could easily cost $5 or more in a decade. Rent, groceries, healthcare, they rarely stay still. That's why retirees who once felt comfortable slowly find themselves squeezed. The income looks the same on paper, But life keeps getting more expensive. The solution isn't just protecting your 500K, it's growing it. Reinvesting a portion of returns so your portfolio increases by at least 2 to 3% annually helps you stay ahead of inflation instead of falling behind. Or, as O'Leary warns, the point isn't to double your money overnight. The point is to make your money last forever. Making it last forever doesn't just mean fighting inflation. It also means protecting it from the biggest threat of all, your own bad decisions. The capital preservation rule. This is where discipline matters most. Kevin O'Leary is famously blunt about this. Never invest in your brother's restaurant or bowling alley or all that other crap. And he's right. When people finally save, or inherit, a big lump sum, they feel pressure to make it exciting. They buy into risky businesses, lend to friends, or chase the latest stock market trends. But most of those bets collapse. And once the money's gone, the freedom is gone with it. If your plan is to live off 500K, the rule is simple. Capital preservation comes first. The nest egg isn't there to impress people or gamble. It's there to protect your freedom. That might sound boring. But boring is what works. So if chasing risky investments is off the table, what actually works? The answer is surprisingly unglamorous: consistency. Here's what that looks like in practice. A balanced portfolio, a mix of equities for growth and bonds for stability. A cash buffer, at least 6 to 12 months of expenses, so you're never forced to sell investments during a downturn. Flexible withdrawals. Spend less in rough years, replenish in strong years. Tax-smart planning. Keeping investments in the right accounts, so you hold on to more of your income. None of this will ever make headlines. But what it does create is something far more valuable: stability. And it's stability that allows 500K to stop being just savings and start becoming a reliable income engine that lasts for life. Still, even with a solid plan, there's one question no strategy can answer for you. At the heart of all this is one simple but powerful question. Not, how much money makes you rich, but how much money makes you free? Here's how to calculate it. Add up your essential annual expenses: housing, food, healthcare, transportation, taxes. Then divide that number by 5%, 4%, or 3%. That's your freedom number. For example, if your essentials come to $30,000 a year, you'd need $600K at a 5% return, $750K at 4%, or $1 million at 3%. That's the math. But the bigger takeaway is mindset. The goal isn't chasing the endless more our culture pushes. It's figuring out what's enough for you and building toward that. So ask yourself, could you cover your life on $3,500 a month? And if not, what would you cut first? Because once you define enough, the game changes. Suddenly, freedom feels closer than you thought. Every decision you make with money is a trade. You're either renting your future or buying it back, downsizing into a smaller home, driving the car that's already paid off, canceling subscriptions you don't use. These moves don't just cut expenses, they clear away mental clutter. That's why people who simplify often report feeling lighter, freer, not deprived. They're no longer chained to a paycheck or a lifestyle they can't afford. Instead, they wake up to lives they actually own. Or, as O'Leary puts it, once you know your number, you stop working towards someone else's version of success. You define your own. So here's the question worth asking yourself. If true freedom cost 500K, how close are you already? Yes, living off 500,000 is possible, not by living like a celebrity, but by living intentionally. If you align your lifestyle, preserve capital, grow just enough to outpace inflation, and combine investments with Social Security, you'll see that 500K isn't just a number. It's a bridge to freedom. And here's the deeper truth. 500K may not make you rich by magazine covers or social media standards, but it can buy you something far more valuable: control of your time, your choices, and your life. So maybe the question was never, how rich do you need to be? Maybe it's always been, how much does your freedom cost? If this changed the way you look at money, Don't forget to like and subscribe to Minecraft for more deep dives on building wealth, creating freedom, and owning your future. And let me know in the comments, what's your number for financial freedom? This is Minecraft, where ideas become action, and action becomes your future.